This mimer is Vayishlach Yehoshua. The Rebbe said at Parsha Shlach, Chof Chef 7. It was Shabbos Mavarchim Tammuz, Tavshin Lamed Vav. And it came out Muga, the Rebbe looked it over, it came out Muga is in the liquid of Chof Chef 7 with Tavshin Mem Ches, 1988. The Chof Chef 7 was the day that the Rebbe arrived in America from war-torn Europe, and it became a special day for the Rebbe, for the Frierdiker Rebbe, for all of Chassidim, as the Rebbe landed, escaped, and then was able to develop the whole Nasius of Lubavitch as we've had it up till today. So this Maimah is Parsha Shlach. Vayishlach Yehoshua talks about when Yehoshua sent spies to Eretz Yisrael to check out Eretz Yisrael. We're going to compare the difference between the spies that Yehoshua sent and earlier the spies that Moshe Rabbeinu sent. And all the time we need Hashem's protection for Eretz Yisrael, and here we'll learn the Ruchni's Dike Eretz Yisrael and the Rutzchus Dike Eretz Canaan. And so hopefully with working with ourselves in our own personal way, that this will help for all of Klal Yisrael, especially for everyone in Eretz Yisrael. Vayishlach Yehoshua Shnaim Anoshim Meraglim. Yehoshua sent two spies. Umavor b'lekutei Torah divrei maskel ze hachilik bein hameraglim shesholach Yehoshua lameraglim shesholach Moshe. And in Lekutei Torah from the Alter Rebbe, he explains the difference between the spies that Moshe Rabbeinu sent and the spies that Yehoshua sent. Now, Yehoshua only sent two, and their job was to go to Yericho, which was the gateway to Eretz Yisrael, and Moshe Rabbeinu sent 12 spies, and their job was to search the length and breadth to spy out the whole Eretz Yisrael, or then, as it was called, Eretz Canaan. The Meraglim shesholach Moshe ksiv shlach locha l'daitecha ani eini mitzavelach. The Meraglim that Moshe Rabbeinu sent, the Torah says, Hashem said to him, if you want, you could send. I'm not commanding you to do so. The Yidden had asked and pressured Moshe Rabbeinu that they wanted to check out the land and spy out the land. And so Moshe checked with Hashem. So Hashem told him, I'm not going to tell you to do it. If you want, it's your inyan, it's on you to send them, but I'm not going to tell you to send them. So when the spies went for Moshe Rabbeinu, there was 12 of them. They went to check out the whole Eretz Yisrael, and Hashem hadn't commanded Moshe to do it. Moshe did it on his own, so to speak. However, with the Yehoshua, but with Yehoshua, Hashem commanded him to do it. So Hashem commanded him, there was two of them, and they only went to Yericho. That the Meraglim that Yehoshua sent was only to Yericho, Menu'ul Shel Eretz Yisrael, which is called the gateway, the lock of Eretz Yisrael. And through going there, Val Yedei Zeh, Soris Kol Aretz, they would be able to spy out the whole rest of the land. But by the ones of Moshe Rabbeinu, they had to travel the whole length and breadth of Eretz Yisrael. So we'll see. The main biur is that there's a mitzvah in the Torah that the Yidden were given by Yehoshua to spy out to spy out the land. Now, every mitzvah in the Torah is eternal. Sometimes we can do them today, sometimes not. A lot of the mitzvahs that are connected with the Beis HaMikdash, we can't do them because we don't have a Beis HaMikdash. A lot of the Karbanis, or all the Karbanis. However, there's a Ruchni's Dike content to every mitzvah. And that Ruchni's Dike content, the spiritual content, and therefore opportunity and obligation to do the mitzvah still applies today. And so we have also in this matter of conquering Eretz Yisrael, there's a spiritual Eretz Canaan and a spiritual Eretz Yisrael, which we can all work on doing. So in general, when we have a Yid living in Olam Hazeh, you've got two aspects of their lives. You've got that which is generated by the Nefesh Elikis, which is the spiritual, godly aspect. The Nefesh Elikis only wants to learn Torah, do mitzvahs, serve Hashem. And we've got our physical needs, generated that are needs by the Nefesh Abamis and the Guf, that we want to live, we want to eat, sleep, have shelter, clothing, etc., all the physical needs. And from that comes also desires for the physical, wanting for the physical. And so we've got these two aspects of our lives that Yidden juggle with. That which is from the Nefesh Elikis, the Ruchnis, and the Nefesh Abamis, the Gashmis. So in general terms, we say that physical aspect of our that we are drawn towards, from the Guf, the Nefesh Abamis, and all the things around us in the world, is referred to as Eretz Canaan. And the mission of the godly soul coming into our body is to spiritualize the physical, to use out this physical for spiritual purposes, and to bring godliness into the physical, to make our own personal Eretz Canaan, Eretz Yisrael. And so you have the Alter Rebbe speaks in Tanya about the three general levels of Tzaddik, Beinoni, and Rasha, that the Tzaddik has been able to turn the feelings of the Nefesh Abamis from wanting physical matters and pleasures in this world to only wanting to serve Hashem. As we say in the Shema, V'ahavta Hashem Elikecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha me'edecha. That the Torah doesn't say b'chol libecha, with all your heart. B'chol levavecha, the two vavs, and the two vases. B'chol levavecha, leiv, lamed, vase, and it's spelled with two of them, levavecha. That both of these two are, one implies the Nefesh Elikis and the Nefesh Abamis. He's been able to turn around the Nefesh Abamis that it should also want to serve Hashem. And so he no longer has any physical desires. That's how the tzaddik has turned around his whole Eretz Canaan, his whole union of his Nefesh Abamis to want to serve Hashem. The Beinoni is in process. He will have, let's say, flashes throughout his day of Avos Hashem, Yiras Hashem, but the Nefesh Abamis stays with its desire to want to be connected to the physical. He still has the mitzvah and the obligation of molding that Nefesh Abamis, and so in thought, speech, and action, everything he thinks about, and that he's aware of his thoughts, should be channeled into serving Hashem. Everything that he speaks about should be speaking only in order to serve Hashem, and everything that he does should be only actions that are actions in serving Hashem and Torah, mitzvahs, Zav, Yisrael, Tzedakah, etc. That's the avodah of the Beinoni. The tzaddik has been able to turn everything around with his hapcha, that the Nefesh Abamis no longer wants to have the physical. And so this is the personal Eretz Canaan, our life within the Nefesh Abamis and our physical needs. Oispace, Nakudas Abir Bezeh. The general point of this explanation is Shetzivi, the Kovish Ha'aris Baruch is the command to conquer the land spiritually. In other words, our spiritual service to Hashem. Kokol Tzivim Shabbatayra is an Inyan Nitzchi B'chol Devider. This mitzvah to conquer the land is an Avodah Ruchnis that is now also applicable in Ruchnis. Every mitzvah is eternal. And so with what this mitzvah of conquering the land also has a spiritual connotation in which we're able to do so today. To call echad v'echad mi Yisrael tzarich lichbeish kol hakoiches v'hinyonim de gufay v'nefesh abamis Eretz Canaan, that every Yid needs to conquer all of his soul powers and inyonim of the body and the Nefesh Abamis, which in general terms is called Eretz Canaan. In other words, the worldliness that we live out of. The Yidden were coming from Mitzrayim. They came into the Midbar. They'd been there after 40 years. Now that we're going to conquer Eretz Yisrael. In other words, imbue the world, imbue the land with spirituality, learn Torah, do mitzvahs, and ultimately build the base of Mikdash in Eretz Yisrael. So everybody's take the physical world and turn it into something spiritual. And this is the mission of why the Yid is here in the world. It's not to fix his neshama. The neshama is perfect. The Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, it's based on the Medrash, Tanchuma, that the neshama comes into the body in order to spiritualize the body. It doesn't need a fix. It has an aliyah through that. But the purpose is to bring ruchnius, elokos, Torah mitzvahs into the physical world, into his body, into all of the world in which he comes in contact. So that is, in general terms, here called Eretz Canaan. Each person has their mini job, like the Klal Yisrael had going into Eretz Yisrael. Then we all have our own personal battle, and to take all of these inyanim Eretz Canaan, velasim kelim lelokos Eretz Yisrael, and to make from his own personal Eretz Canaan, to make them kelim, make them vessels for godliness, which is referred to Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is not just the land, but in spiritual term means where godliness shines through. And we've talked about this before, that in Mitzrayim, they worship the Nile. That's where they got all their sustenance from. They had to look down to the Nile. And it depicts looking down. Looking down means only thinking that the world exists on its own as a Gashmizdika existence. So then the value system becomes all of the Gashmis on all different levels: clothing, food, shelter, cars, money, everything that's physical. Eretz Yisrael, they had to look up to daven for rain. That rain came from the sky, so they looked up and they had to daven for rain. Shows that depicts on looking higher, looking above the physical, looking for deeper, meaningfulness, spirituality, and a connection to Hashem. So the general inyan of conquering the land means take our own personal investment that we have that we're sort of, so to speak, locked into our physical wants and needs, and imbuing that with spirituality, with Eretz Yisrael, our own personal Eretz Canaan, to make that Eretz Yisrael.